Welcome to the Unpacking It live podcast presented by Medi-Share. I'm Bryce Johnson. For the next hour, we will unpack sports, faith, and life with you and the Unpacking It community of sports fans. Thanks to everybody watching and listening on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Everybody that listens later on the podcast, everywhere podcasts are found, we thank you. We hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We are back today. We're starting a little bit late today, and I'll share a little bit of why that is in just a little bit. But I'm gonna talk about, I had a lunch today. I'm going to talk about a food that I believe is underrated. So I know we've talked food because of Thanksgiving. Well, I've kickstarted the week with a lunch item that I'm convinced needs more love than it receives. So we will get into that in just a little bit. But of course, we will talk football from the weekend. College football on Saturday. One of the best Saturdays of the year is always Rivalry Saturday. But what about the teams that don't have a rival? How do they feel on a Monday? What if someone has a team without a rival, yet they got a huge win today or on Saturday? They're going to talk about it today. We'll hear from Luke in just a moment as he discusses that. Also, my Carolina Panthers back in the running for the playoffs, winning the division with 4 wins. You got to love it. Still alive thanks to the Bucks blowing it against Cleveland. So now Cleveland wins. They get Deshaun Watson back. So what does that mean for Cleveland moving forward? And then how about the New York Jets yesterday winning with Mike White? I love this story. I love the backup quarterbacks, the underrated quarterbacks, the quarterbacks out of nowhere that come in and beat out and play better than the number 2 pick, the number 1 pick. Get them out of here. Bring in the underdog. So it's cool. So I'm not necessarily a Jets guy, but I like that. And then we'll go back to Thursday, Thanksgiving Day games, which were interesting, intriguing. Luke's Cowboys finally won on Thursday, beat Henry's Giants. So we'll have a little fun with that today as well. And then yesterday, there were 2 incredible finishes to games that came down to the final drive. And those teams scored. And then they went for 2. What does that have to do with faith? What does that have to do with the Bible? We're going to discuss that today during the Unpack This topic because it is one of my favorite topics, football-wise and faith-wise. Going for 2. Going for it on 4th down. I love it. So we'll have some fun with that as well. All right. We are brought to you by Sugar Creek Coffee, and Luke has finally had his Sugar Creek coffee. And so I want to bring Luke on. Luke, happy Thanksgiving. How'd it go? We now shift our attention to Christmas. You and I are big Christmas guys as well. But before we fully turn the page, did you have a nice Thanksgiving? How are you?
Great Thanksgiving. Oh, we were talking before the show. Thanksgiving, I think it's my new favorite holiday. Growing up, Christmas, it's magical, and the kid, all the amazing festivities. But now I'm 25. Madeline and I don't have kids right now. Once we have kids, I think the magic of Christmas will be restored. But right now, Thanksgiving, it's the best holiday. So I love it. Food and football. It's fantastic.
Here's what I'm convinced of today, now that you bring that up. I'm convinced Thanksgiving is the best holiday for adults when you don't have kids, or even like teenagers or college kids. Thanksgiving is awesome. Now, I always love Christmas, but as a dad with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, Thanksgiving is not what it used to be. I can't sit there all day and eat. It's chasing. I was sitting there enjoying the final, scoops of my food, and Michaela fell and got hurt somewhere. So that ended the final enjoyment of, those last few bites, done, out the window. But I'm convinced Christmas is fantastic with kids. So we were decorating the tree last night. Maddie actually likes eggnog. We're putting the ornaments up. We're listening to Christmas music. With the kids, it's fantastic. Thanksgiving with little kids, not ideal. It's hard. I watched the football, but I wasn't watching the football. I wasn't into it. Too much shenanigans. It's fun. It's family. It's great.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving's not the same as it once was. I will say that.
I was glued to the couch watching football. Everyone had the expectation, we're going to eat, we're going to watch football. There's only one infant there in my family, their Thanksgiving. So one cousin has a 1-year-old baby. Everyone else is 24 or older. So a lot of football. But
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
that's
was
a nice
great.
day.
Got my Sugar Creek coffee in the mail. Fantastic. We got the midnight oil, the dark roast.
Ooh, the
Madeline
dark roast.
is a huge proponent of the dark roast. So brewed that up for church yesterday. It was fantastic. So shout out to Sugar Creek. Get your coffee. They do it well. Don't do the grocery store beans that are a year. They've been expired for a year. They're old. No, get your coffee fresh. It's the way to do it. It's not snobbery. It's fresh coffee.
There you go. So sugarcreekcoffee.com. Use the promo code UNPACK and you'll save some money on your order. And Sugar Creek Coffee, their passion is for coffee, their love for people. It's handcrafted, small batch, artisan roasted, and it's delicious. So check it out, sugarcreekcoffee.com. Use the promo code UNPACK. All right. So let's begin things. There's so many different directions to go. Last night, Green Bay loses to Philadelphia. How amazing is Philadelphia? We're kind of back on that bandwagon. We got to see a little glimpse of Jordan Love. Is Aaron Rodgers hurt? Are they going to shut him down for the season? Wait, he actually wants to play. So we got that story going on. I will say I'm convinced that the Chiefs played down to their opponents, but I'm still convinced the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. They're going to represent the AFC. They're awesome. So they're still great, despite maybe a little bit of a not as an amazing performance yesterday. And then same with San Francisco. San Francisco struggled a little bit yesterday. Jimmy G's a little banged up. I'm still convinced San Francisco is going to the Super Bowl, and they're representing the NFC, despite the big performance last night by the Eagles and how well they ran the ball. But today, Luke, I'm going to give you kind of the floor first because I like this topic a lot. What are you convinced of as a Texas A&M fan today?
Well, first thing I'm convinced of is a lifetime of being on a roller coaster. That's first and foremost. Horrendous season, but another season with a top 5 win at home. Here's what I'm convinced of, though. Life as a sports fan is way better if your team has a rival. And it's so clear. But you take it for granted if your team has a rival. Think of the great rivalry games this year. South Carolina, Clemson. Great rivalry game. South Carolina, big win. UCF, huge. South Florida. UCF's up 28-0. South Florida's 1-10 on the season at the time. They come storming back and almost win. The fact of the matter is, if you have a true rival, no matter how your season has gone, you have something to play for. If you've lost every game that season, but you know at the end of the season you have your rival and you win that game, it's a successful season. Texas A&M does not have a rival, and it's just such a bummer. Yeah, Texas is a rival historically, but we don't play them. We'll start playing them again in a couple years, and I'm sure that'll be great. People have tried to say, like when A&M beat LSU in 7 overtimes, the famous call on the broadcast was, "There's your rivalry." You know what? Nope, not even close. It's not a rivalry. No one thinks it's a rivalry. A&M LSU, yeah, fun game, but nothing really to play for. So I just wish my Aggies had a rival that I could look forward to playing. There's healthy animosity. There's a rival. Okay, this team's won 2 in a row. This team's won 3 in a row. I don't have it, and I'm envious of. And we asked this question last week. What's a fan base you're envious of? I'm envious of every fan base that has a rivalry game because I just don't have it.
I never really thought about it, but you're exactly right. And what I wonder though is how do you start with a rivalry at this point? I mean, I guess that the door opens a little bit now that, the conferences are always changing and new teams are now playing each other more often. So it opens up the door. If you have a couple like really great games against each other, a rivalry can be born. But yeah, you can't recreate the Ohio State Michigan rivalry. I mean, it's just that's so long, 100 years or whatever, and Auburn, Alabama, and UNC Duke. So you can't get to that level. But you're right. Every team needs that rivalry. Yeah. And even if you have to kind of manufacture it for a while, you got to find one because you're missing out on the season. To end the season without one, because you think about all the great games on Saturday. Yeah. But you're right. there were a couple scores. It's like, wait, they're playing today. What's that? What's
I
that all
know.
about? Who
It's
cares?
just a bummer. Like,
Yeah,
think of TCU. If they had a rivalry game as the last
I
game of the
know.
season, how great would that be to continue to try to go undefeated, but they play Iowa State? Oh, come on. I mean, what
Yeah,
are
it's
we
not
doing
strong
here?
enough. Yeah,
It's just,
Oregon State was a great one. One of our loyal listeners, Steve, is a big Oregon State guy.
oh,
He's loving
yeah.
life.
The sun
He's having a
rose
good
on the
old time.
Beavers.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
but
big shout out to
North
them.
Carolina State, NC State, unranked, huge
Unbelievable game.
opportunity to beat North Carolina. I mean, there's so much to play for. You just get another opportunity to end the season on a success in those bragging rights. It's just taken for granted, like way too much. Even Kansas, K-State and Kansas. K-State's won 14 in a row now, which is insane. But no matter what, there's something to play for in that game, and it's just amazing.
Yes. No, it's great.
Do your App State
Unfortunately,
Mountaineers have a rival?
yeah, Georgia. Georgia saw. I don't even want to say their name because they beat us on Saturday night in
Oh,
overtime. It was not good. Not a good way to end the season for
that's
App.
where our
And
boy Clay Helton coaches, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
So we had Clay on earlier this year, and I had all my App stuff up, and it's his first year at Georgia Southern, and sure enough, they beat App. Georgia Southern was at home, but this is another topic I want to bring up today is how quickly things change and how quickly narratives can change in the course of a season. Because when we go back to September, if we listen back to the old shows, and I'm all excited about App State and this tight game against UNC, epic game, beat Texas A&M, the Hail Mary
I
against
forgot about that. Yeah.
Troy, and all these exciting games. Well, then people probably don't even realize this, but App lost a ton of games the rest of the way, finished 6-6, a very disappointing season. College Game Day was at App. And so, but this is the case for a number of teams this year, where either you started the season off slow, you finished strong.
My Jayhawks, 5-0, ranked, hosted College Game Day, finish 6-6.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned this last week on the show too, but even teams like UNC kind of went on a roller coaster this year. Clemson went on a roller coaster to think how they ended to lose to South Carolina and Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. So it's so fascinating. We as sports fans, the journey that we go on throughout a season, and especially, I don't know, in college football almost as much as any, just because how one loss also affects things so much in college football, where it ends a lot of seasons, and especially that second loss, and then I hate when things really unravel like they did at App. I mean, it's the craziest thing. I'm not going to get into all what the fallout is, but it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And all of you that have different teams that you watch throughout this year, unless you're competing for the playoff or unless you're sort of in a rebuild and you're all excited about making it to a bigger bowl game that you haven't been in a while. Or like South Carolina, they're loving life. They beat their rival. They got the big win against Tennessee. And that brings up another question that I have today, because there are times when I like a coach, I like a player on a team or on a program that I historically root against. And I will say it. South Carolina is one of my least favorite teams and programs. And it's mainly because of one of my friends. He's a high school buddy. We're still friends, but he went to South Carolina and he's obnoxious and he drives me nuts with his fandom. And he was annoying on Saturday night. So I always root against South Carolina.
Yep.
But I like Beamer. I like the story where his dad was the coach at Virginia Tech. And now, Shane Beamer's becoming he's building a program there. And I find myself happy for him. But it's a weird feeling. And so for those of you listening today, who's that coach or that player that you want to like, and maybe you even do like, but it's overshadowed. There's this black cloud over your feelings for them because historically, I can't get there. I can't get there. Who are some of those guys for you?
Well, recency bias says Dusty Baker for the Houston Astros, beloved coach. Everyone wants to see him win, but with the Astros, no one can find themselves rooting for them. And I think of, Philadelphia Eagles. As a Cowboys fan, you despise the Eagles. I remember at a Cowboys game a handful of years ago, they're screaming, EAGLES. So annoying. But man, love Doug Peterson, love Nick Foles, love those guys. And they won a Super Bowl, and I'm happy for them. Great guys of faith, character, awesome guys to root for. But did it have to be with the Eagles? Oh, it was just this heart divided of emotions. So probably those two for me.
Yeah, and then but that's a great example because I like those guys as well. There's also the players that you end up never liking because they were on a team that you despised. And for me, I could never like Drew Brees. It's like, Bryce, of course you like Drew Brees. Everybody likes Drew Brees. No, I don't. I don't like him. I think it's because he was always on the Saints. He was on the Chargers for a while, but he, the majority of his career was with the Saints, big rival of the Panthers. I can't get there. Now I'm coming around on Sean Payton because I like him on TV, but
he had to
he's
get
doing
out
a
of the
great job.
Saints organization.
He's out of the he's no longer there. He's still attached, but
yeah.
But yeah, and I would also say Hubert Davis with UNC. As much as I'm a Duke fan,
that's a good
I
point.
like Hubert Davis.
Yeah, been on the show.
Yeah, he was awesome on the show. But a quick side note, UNC, there are UNC fans. I was talking to somebody on Sunday at church yesterday, that there are UNC fans frustrated with Hubert Davis. That I don't know if Hubert's the guy. Get out of here. Get out of here with that.
On.
What he did last year should buy him a ton of time.
Oh, I know.
I know. Yeah, they lost yesterday. Duke did too. In this, what is this? Phil Knight. What is Phil Knight putting his name all over this? This new tournament.
He's everywhere.
What did I miss? What did I miss? I'm all into the football yesterday, and I'm like, oh wow, there's some big games going on in college basketball. And this Phil Knight tournament is going on all weekend, but
yeah.
And then there's Phil Knight sitting courtside. It's just funny to me. I got sort of a kick out of it, so to speak.
So one for me that I'm really ashamed of now. I used to love Dwayne Wade. I remember at an outdoor 3-on-3 hoop it up basketball tournament in Dallas. I was interviewed and I was on TV, and this was recorded on our DVR for years before we moved. And they said, "Who's your favorite player?" And I said, Dwayne Wade. And over time, my sports hatred for Dwayne Wade was the most sports hated player of all time because of what he did to my Mavs in 2006, the amount of times he went to the free throw line and Mavs were cheated out of that championship. I stand by it. Him and LeBron making fun of Dirk for being sick and saying he was faking it in the 2011 NBA Finals. He's probably a player I would have loved and appreciated, but because of what he did to my Mavericks and that rivalry, I couldn't. I loved him, and over time, I couldn't do it because of my fandom for Dallas. So it's a shameful moment in my sports fandom of saying I loved him at one point.
So who is that for you as a listener? You can leave your comments wherever you're watching. Who's that one player that you did like, but he was on the wrong team, or a coach that you really liked, but he just was on that team that you normally hate? And so you got yourself, you're like, wait, I can't help it. I like this guy, or I'm pulling for this guy. I can't believe it. Or is it somebody that you just could never like because he was on that other team? So curious to see some thoughts from our listeners today. You can always email me, Bryce@unpackingit.com. All right, a couple other thoughts from the NFL weekend.
When are you going to get into your quiche?
Oh, you got all right. Now you're stealing the lead there, buddy.
I know. That was disappointing.
All right, before we jump in, we'll get into all the NFL stuff. All right, so I had a lunch today, and I ordered a quiche, and I love quiche, but I'm convinced people give quiche a bad rap. That it's some sort of, it's like weak. It's like, oh, come on, man. You can't get a quiche. You can't order a quiche. What kind of guy are you? Come on. And I totally disagree. A quiche is delicious. I mean, the crust today was fantastic. It had a little sweetness to it. And then bring it home with a nice fluffy egg. I mean, it's fantastic.
What was in it?
Sausage. It was like a sausage quiche. It was very fluffy and delicious and thick and awesome.
So I totally ruined your delivery. My apologies for that. I was so eager because I, too, am a quiche lover. Transparency here. Had no idea what quiche was before meeting Madeline. I thought they were the little tiny like finger foods. I thought those were quiches. I didn't know you can make like a big quiche. And then all of a sudden we get these things shipped to us from our wedding registry. I'm like, what are these? And Madeline goes, oh, they're quiche things to make quiches in. I'm like, okay, fantastic. And she's making me these quiches, savory quiches, dinner quiches, all with the egg base, but you can customize whatever you put in it. I am a total buyer of all things quiche, and I'm with you. So underrated. They're not
Yeah.
dainty. Even if they are, boy, do they deliver every single time. Oh,
Unless I
so
make it.
good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We had a big
Fair.
debacle last year around Christmas time. I made a quiche that did not land well. So no more homemade
Oof.
quiches. But I'm on a crusade to bring respect to quiche. Be proud, quiche lovers. Let's go. I mean, it's eggs. What you like? An omelet? You like quiche? Come on.
That's a good point.
So,
It's
my,
an amazing omelet breakfast burrito egg pie. Oh, it's so delicious.
Yeah, pizza. No, that's the thing. We got to rename it. Maybe it's pizza. It's an egg pizza. So
True.
it's an egg pie. That's all it is.
It's an egg pie. Quiche. Yeah. The jury's out on the name.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that. So anyway, would love to know your quiche takes. Where do we stand on that? That's maybe our poll question for today, right?
Dalton says it's a bad take.
Get out of here with that. Come on. Give it another try. You can get a good one. You'll be in.
True.
So all right, well let's jump into unpack this because I want to talk about two of the best games from yesterday. And I was watching both of these and pulling for both teams to win on the final drive. And so unpack this. It's our segment where we take sports topics related to faith, related to the Bible. We transition away from quiche talk into spiritual football talk. So you got to love that. And so yesterday, in the early games, you had Jacksonville and Baltimore. Kind of an interesting matchup. You know, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they've sort of been limping through the season a little bit, still winning a ton of games. They barely beat the Panthers last week, but they're still winning games. They're in the mix. They're in the playoff hunt. Some people still like them even as a Super Bowl contender. Going up against Jacksonville, a team that has, flashed at times, but just haven't been able to complete games, win games. Trevor Lawrence has maybe made some, costly mistakes at times that have prevented them from winning. But here they were, driving a beautiful they were down 7.
Yep.
And Trevor Lawrence puts together a 10-play, 75-yard drive, finds a Marvin Jones, an unbelievable catch.
Marvin Lewis
from the Bengals was playing wide receiver. So Marvin Jones catches this great pass, and now the Jaguars are down 1, facing the choice. Do we go for 1? There's 14 seconds left on the clock. Go for 1, tie it, send it into overtime. Or do we go the risky, the aggressive, the let's go for it mentality? And Doug Peterson says, we're going for 2. We're going for 2. Trevor Lawrence hits Zay Jones, who had a huge day yesterday, and they win the game against Baltimore with their mascot, who wasn't clothed, which was weird too.
Very interesting.
Very, very weird. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Get rid of the mascots. So I'm on the Mike Wilbon train with that. But so here it is. They decide to go for 2 instead of playing for overtime. And I absolutely love this. I love when teams go to win, because I talk about this a lot, probably because I'm so passionate about it. But if you have the opportunity where you have all the momentum and you just scored a touchdown, you've got the defense on the ropes, hit them one more time and go for it. You got to have a good play. You got to have that good, 2-point conversion play, and you got to have a quarterback that you can trust.
And the Jags did. As soon as they snapped the ball, Trevor Lawrence didn't even look to the right side of the field. He was locked in on, it was Zay Jones who caught the 2-point conversion.
Yes.
He was locked in on him the whole time. One-on-one, I'm throwing the ball to Zay. So that was impressive.
Awesome.
Quick thing about mascots. The only thing good about mascots, if you're listening and you played NCAA football, the video game, playing with the mascots versus each other, glorious. Let's do a mascot game. The best team to play with, the Syracuse Orange. Your entire roster is a bunch of oranges that you're throwing the ball to and handing the ball to. So if you're an NCAA football guy, you're welcome for that deep cut. Bryce is not a fan, I can tell by his reaction. But the true fans are rejoicing right now.
The last time I played NCAA football, I was probably in high school, still working through my maturity, and I threw a controller. I threw a control. I think that was the
Oh,
end of my NCAA tournament time or NCAA
controller
football time.
thrower.
Yeah, not good. Not a good look. Not a good look. So here we are back on track. The Jaguars win that game by going for 2. Then we go to the 4:00 games. Chargers, Arizona. Chargers, another team. It's like they gotta, push through and get some big wins. They've got Justin Herbert. Let's go. And they're losing to the Cardinals. And so they're down by 7 and they're driving on the final minutes of the game. And with 15 seconds remaining, Austin Eckler catches a pass for a touchdown, and they cut the lead to 24-23. And now the Chargers have a choice to make. Do we go for 2, or do we just kick an extra point, hopefully make it, and send it to overtime and try to win in overtime? No. The Chargers go for it as well. Herbert finds Gerald Everett, the tight end. They get the 2-point conversion. They beat the Cardinals, probably end Cliff Kingsbury's time in Arizona. And LA gets the big win. And so Brandon Staley, Doug Peterson, they had faith in their quarterbacks, faith in their offenses. They were willing to take the risk, and they were willing to go for it and go for 2. And I absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan. And what's cool is I saw this on Twitter. Sunday was the first week since the 2-point conversion was implemented in 1994 where multiple games were decided by game-winning points that came on the conversion in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. So a historic day to have both of them, which was really neat. On a quick side note, if you're watching the Bucs game against Cleveland, the Bucs were playing for overtime, and they lost in overtime. So there you go. Now, the Raiders also played for overtime. There's a little bit more time on the clock, and the Raiders were able to win in overtime thanks to Josh Jacobs' big run, which was unbelievable, which ended fantasy matchups all across the country, including one of mine, which was devastating. So what's so cool about these 2-point conversions, though, is, they're calculated risks, and the aggressive approach really invigorates the whole team. And it doesn't always work out perfectly, but the bold mentality keeps the momentum going. And really, it just allows the team an opportunity to win instead of playing for the tie or playing for overtime. And this isn't soccer. This is football. So you actually want to win. And so you try to win games. No response, Luke. All right, we'll get to soccer later. And so, some coaches may view the 2-point conversion as, too risky. And what is the deal? Well, they don't want to take the gamble because they're afraid and they lack the necessary faith in their team to go for 2. And so what about in our own lives? Do we live by the approach of, I'm going to go for it, let's win it now? Is that the strategy? Or is it always, we'll try and win later in overtime? We'll go for the tie. We'll settle. What's easier? What's safer? I'm going to go for that. That's more of my approach. Now, there is a time for both, for sure. But today I want to challenge and encourage us to really consider the situations in our lives where God is saying, go for it, where it's a now. It's come on, let's go. Let's stop delaying. Let's not procrastinate. Let's not be fearful. Let's not be afraid. Let's not, where's our faith? Are we going to place our faith in God in these key moments where we face a decision to step out in faith, in boldness, in confidence, and to make the most of the opportunity right now? And so, we calculate the risk a little bit, but we don't let the fear cause us not to go for it. And so as followers of Jesus, we know that faith is at the core of everything we believe, right? In Hebrews, it says, and without faith, it is impossible to please him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. 1 Corinthians says, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. Ephesians 3:12 tells us, because of Christ and our faith in him, we can now come boldly and confidently into God's presence. And so as we walk closely with God, there are key moments in our lives when we must exercise a deep faith and make choices that outsiders may view as risky or not safe, or they're really taking a gamble. Because it's in these moments we demonstrate our faith is in God by obeying what he is leading us to do. No, we don't act irrationally or unwise, but in faith, we boldly go for it. We go for 2 in life. when he makes it clear and he says go for it, then we go for it. Just as God tells Joshua in Joshua 1:7, this is the amplified version. Only be strong and very courageous. Be careful to do everything in accordance with the entire law which Moses, my servant, commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you may prosper and be successful wherever you go. And so when we step out in faith, we reveal that our trust and our confidence are in the all-knowing, loving, powerful God that we serve. And often this means that we don't delay or wait for overtime, but we go for the win now. We have the conversation now. We make the move now. We confess, we forgive, we pray. We don't hesitate. We don't make excuses. We don't push things down further. I mean, how many coaches, we'll win in overtime. No, you're at the 2-yard line or whatever. Go for it. It's go time. It's time to win the game. And so we've got to have that kind of boldness and confidence rooted in faith, rooted in who Jesus is, rooted in who we are in Christ. And so we can live with that kind of boldness where we do step out in faith. We do step out of the boat, so to speak. And so we don't have to play it safe all the time. There are certain times where God says, hey, wait, be patient, be safe right now. But when he says go, we've got to take that faithful risk forward. And so let's choose to see what amazing things God does when we decide to really go for it. And this is one of my most passionate topics to discuss, and I write about it often. I've written about it over the years. One, from a football standpoint, I love when teams go for it on fourth down and the 2-point conversion. And in life, the thrill and the adventure of going for it with God is worth it. It's fun. And there are times where I think to myself and I go, man, I'm playing things a little too safe. I'm a little too scared. I'm a little too comfortable. I gotta see where God's wanting me to go for it. And so I've seen him show up in amazing ways when I've been willing to go for it, and take those steps of faith. And it can be hard at times. It can be risky at times. But when we know that our hope and our faith is rooted in him, we can do it. We can go for it because he's with us. He gives us the strength and the energy and what we need to be able to do it. We have to take that step of faith. So that's today's Unpack This topic. It'll go out through email as well later today. You can also sign up for free on our website to receive it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so you can go to unpackingit.com/subscribe. Luke, what is your approach when you're watching football? Do you root for teams to go for it? Do you like when your team goes for it? Are you a little safer of a fan? And then how does this play out in your own life from a faith perspective?
Well, I'll tell you this, if my team's on defense, I'm hoping they don't go for it because I don't want to lose on a 2-point conversion. So, it's tough. But, I don't have too much to follow up with on the spiritual application here besides just saying all of this, a lot of life comes down to our belief in God in regards to a lot of things is a belief issue. If we're struggling with a certain thing in faith, a certain thing in our life, it comes down at its core to a belief issue. And if we're not willing to step out in faith, it's probably because we believe something untrue about God, or our belief isn't strong enough to step out in faith. And we need to get on our knees and ask God, by the power of his Spirit, to grow our faith and to help us believe things that are true about God. So, but everything you said is so true. There's many times we're going to have to go for 2 in life, but we have every reason to be confident because God has shown himself to be faithful. Especially if we believe God's word is true and authoritative in our lives, we have every reason to go for 2 and have the confidence to go for 2. But when we're actually having to go for 2 in life and it's our first time, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, do I really believe these things I've been saying? Is it just smooth talk? Is it just speech? Or do I actually believe this stuff? So, which is a scary thing. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, what are we believing about God? And is our belief weak, which God can absolutely use? And we ask him, hey, please God, propel me forward in this weak faith I have. Or do we believe things that aren't true about God, that are preventing us from actually stepping out and going for 2.
Man, that's good. That's strong. I love it. So I hope that that's encouraging to all of us, especially as we end the year and the beginning of the new year allows change. And so some of us may be facing decisions that would be some change in our lives, but we got to take the step of faith and go for it. We've got to make those changes with God's strength and to Luke's point, believing the right things about Him and who we are in Him. So hopefully that's something to wrestle with and think about today and the next the coming weeks heading into the new year especially. So big wins for Jacksonville and the Chargers and of course Jacksonville's not necessarily in the playoff hunt, but they want to build a winning culture.
Yes,
They're
culture,
turning things
momentum,
around.
yeah.
And that drive could be the turning point for Trevor Lawrence. You see young quarterbacks, you just need that marquee, that pivotal moment. And I'm watching, I mean, he's hitting his receivers on that drive. Everything clicked. It was like, boom, let's go.
That's who he was drafted to be. That's the talent we all expected him to have. And, he was on Dan Patrick's show. There's still Urban Meyer effects in this organization that they're unlearning. And he's talked about, people are still asking about Urban Meyer. Hey, and all things Urban Meyer. We're still in the process of moving past that. And no doubt this season's going to be littered with that. But to see that drive and say, that's the Trevor Lawrence that was drafted so high. That's the Trevor Lawrence that after his freshman year at Clemson, people were saying, don't play for 2 years, just prepare for the draft, which was great to see. It's a no-brainer. If this continues to develop, you bring in a guy like Doug Peterson, you surround Trevor Lawrence with better players, you continue to do that, it's going to happen. Football's not as... It's way more common sense than we think it is. Yeah, there's esoteric things, there's difficult things, there's confusing things that experts and professionals need to do. But at the end of the day, is your coach a good leader? Does he know how to mold and shape and develop players and men? Does your franchise quarterback have talented players to throw to? Does he have linemen that can actually stand in front of defensive linemen without his quarterback getting his head taken off? It's a simple game.
Yeah, no, it's good. So they've set him up to succeed, and even Travis Etienne went down, and Hasty came in and played really well. So that was a fun game. And then the Chargers, they're still alive. I don't know if I'm not real confident they're going to make the playoffs,
Hanging
but
by
they'll
a
at least
thread.
they'll be in the hunt. They'll be in the hunt till the end. And then you talk about quarterbacks being able to thrive. Mike White, man, he was set up to thrive yesterday. He's getting all his wide receivers involved. So huge win for him. I can't talk about him enough because I wasn't a big Zach Wilson guy coming in. I didn't get it. I was trying to understand, okay, why is all this hype with Wilson? He was taken after Lawrence. That was Lawrence, then Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson was 2, and then Trey Lance 3.
Gosh, to think I mean, it's just crazy.
So I want to pump the brakes on Mike White a little bit.
No, don't you dare. Don't throw water on this fire for Mike White. It's
against the Bears defense. So Zach Wilson has struggled against way better defenses. But so Mike White still has more to prove. However, it's noteworthy that Mike White came in and dominated. Still an NFL defense, not a great defense. The most important takeaway here, though, I was reading an article in The Athletic. When first-round quarterbacks over the last 10 or so years, when they get benched, usually that's their last time starting for that team. Usually they're gone the next year. They're not in every case, but a majority of the time when you bench your first rounder, you're done. You're done. So it's looking very grim for Zach Wilson in New York.
Oh, yeah, he's out. He's out. They can release him tomorrow. I mean, I guess they'll try to trade him. Someone might try to salvage. But when you have the leadership issues and the accountability issues.
It's a good point.
That's a character, and people change, and maybe he can grow and mature, and this will be humbling. But to me, that's a big red flag, because usually quarterbacks either have it or you don't. You're either that guy in the locker room or you're not. Guys rally behind you.
And you don't have to be vocal. It's not saying that you have to be vocal, but the way you carry yourself, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
Because not all quarterbacks are I have to give every pregame speech. I'm the most vocal guy. But if your quarterback's a leader, just the way he carries himself sets the trajectory. We don't seem to get that with Zach Wilson.
No, and you even have to win the locker room on the defensive side of the ball too. They have to respect you, trust you, and know that, hey, listen, we played great today as a defense, and you blew it. And the quarterback has to be willing, hey, raise their hand and say, hey, I blew it. Thanks, defense. You guys were awesome today. We didn't make enough plays today. And that's gotta be part of the deal there. All right. I did want to talk college football as well in regards to the coaching carousel that is now
this is Bryce's favorite topic. If it's your first time tuning in, Bryce is a lover of all things coaching carousel.
Yeah. Carousel. Is that like a merry-go-round? Is that what that word? I'm trying to think.
Take your daughters on the carousel at the carnival.
I think one of their carousels I like, but I love the coaching carousel. I'm all in. NFL and college football.
It's one of those words that I can never pronounce right the first time. I always read it and say carousel. So I don't know if you have those words in your life where it takes you a couple tries to get through it. But every time I see that, an article or on the show prep doc, I read coaching carousel. Oh yeah. Oh no, carousel. So just want to confess that today. I can never get it right the first time.
Oh, that's good. That's rich. That is rich. So a couple things that I just want to celebrate. These guys are getting celebrated, but I just as a sports fan, I think it's really cool. The fact that Jim Harbaugh was willing to take a pay cut. Everybody was sort of writing him off. He doesn't have it. What's happened to Michigan? And he was willing to stay. They're willing to keep him. And the way that he's turned things around to now put themselves in a great position to actually win the national championship, to beat Ohio State 2 years in a row. This is sweet. And it's also fascinating to me that he was up for that Vikings job. He almost took that Vikings job. Vikings went with Kevin O'Connell. They wanted a different personality than Mike Zimmer. Harbaugh was probably too closely aligned with Zimmer. Old school kind of, I don't want to say grouchy, but Kevin O'Connell's a little bit fresh, breath of fresh air or whatever. Luke's guy. I like O'Connell, but no, for him to stay there. But then, depending on kind of how things turn out, probably, especially if he wins a national championship, Harbaugh he could leave to the NFL. Could he go to the Colts? Could he go to the Chargers? And then there's even talk that maybe Sean McVay actually does leave the Rams and goes into TV, and then that spot opens up. Arizona looks like it's going to open up. Denver, that's a dumpster fire. I don't know if anybody wants that job. But for Harbaugh to now, put his team in position to win and then potentially still leave, but he was willing to sort of bet on himself and come back and all that was for less money.
The most fascinating thing to me is 2-3 years ago, like you said, Harbaugh, hot seat conversations. Can he do it? He can't beat Ohio State. He can't even beat Michigan State, all these Big Ten foes. And then now he goes and beats Ohio State 2 years in a row for the first time since like 2000. It's been a long time. And now Ryan Day is not on the hot seat, but the fact that there's even chatter about what should Ohio State think about Ryan Day? How quickly things turn. That's a complete 180. Literally 3 years ago, everyone's ripping on Harbaugh. He can't coach. He can't do it. And now he's the hero. And last year, they didn't really have a chance to win it all. I mean, Georgia was just too good. But this Michigan team, oh boy, legit chance. They could go get this thing. And that would be fascinating how things went from bad to incredible with Harbaugh's Wolverines.
I love it. Very cool. The other thing is how quickly USC has turned around with Lincoln Riley. And I don't like when coaches leave big programs to go to other big programs. It rubs me the wrong way. Brian
Especially
Kelly going from Notre Dame to LSU.
Deceptive about it and kind of lying. Because he said, I'm not taking the LSU job. As a way to say I'm not leaving. Everyone thought that. But no one's even thinking he's taking the USC job. It's like, he's not going to LSU. That's what he said? He's like, are you going to LSU? No, I'm not going to LSU. But he knows he's taking the USC job.
Yeah. So I didn't like that, but I I appreciate how quickly he's been able to bring USC into the mix. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, that's remarkable. Now you got a ton of transfers but still in college football to be able to do that is very impressive. So I'm amazed by that. And then I'm also just kind of fascinated to see these dominoes. Does Lane Kiffin actually stay at Ole Miss? Looks like he's going to, and he got that extension. Hugh Freeze at Liberty is very intriguing to me. Does he actually leave? How do we feel about that? It makes me a little funny about his journey and all that, but because it seemed like he was really building Liberty. But see, then they had sort of a tough last few games. They've lost some surprising games, didn't finish the season real well. So apparently Auburn fans were all up in arms when the rumors started coming out about Hugh Freeze going to Auburn. So that's really fascinating. And then how about David Shaw resigning from Stanford? So does David Shaw become a big broadcaster? Because he's always good when he's been on the college football playoff coverage and different things. Always enjoy him. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that. And then also Dabo and Clemson and where they go from here. And, just the fact that he lost both coordinators this offseason. And then now they've had sort of 2 years in a row where they've just underachieved to their standard.
Well, it's hilarious because it's been a lose-lose. Dabo's lost Venables, who was huge for him, and Venables is suffering in Norman.
It's tough.
I mean, it's the dark ages for Oklahoma this year. I mean, come on. Very bad. So I wonder if they're thinking, gosh, could we reunite? Because it was very good times when we were together at Clemson. But even Clemson all season, it was, are they really that good? Everyone thought they were worse than the record. And we're kind of seeing, it's just, sustain excellence is so difficult. So I think the question is now, how long can Kirby Smart keep it going at Georgia? They look dominant. Is it ever going to end? But
it does.
10 years. No one's built like Saban to be able to do it for years and years and years and years. No matter how good Georgia is right now, and one of my buddies at church, diehard Georgia fan, and I know he's not pleased with hearing this, but we can't just take for granted that Kirby Smart's just going to keep having his Bulldogs number 1, 2, and 3 in the country, because it's just too hard.
Well, it puts it in perspective, especially what Clemson accomplished during their elite run and championships and all that. I mean, it was remarkable. But yeah, to keep it going, you're going to go through ebbs and flows. And we just talked about Trevor Lawrence. You lose a guy like Trevor Lawrence, and DJ just he's not on that same level.
And
but Dabo's loyalty to DJ Ungale has been, I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate the loyalty.
Verbally, but he's still putting in true freshman backup in crunch time. But that's also the thing. You got to have a quarterback. It's so obvious, but we got to say it again. What's a huge reason Lincoln Riley's succeeding at USC? He's got a Heisman candidate. Why can't A&M get it going with all their talent? Because they have no quarterbacks. Their best quarterback is a true freshman who's still developing and could be really good. But goodness, you got to have a playmaker at quarterback.
And guess what, Luke? My Carolina Panthers won on Sunday with Sam Darnold.
Darnold, baby.
He's back. And speaking of the Panthers, Matt Rule takes over Nebraska.
Ooh,
and here's my take. My uncle, he sent me a text, loyal listener. He was asking me about Matt Rule. This is an easy, low-hanging fruit take. But Nebraska, it's over. Like, it was a nice run. They were a great program. They were an old school, college program that was awesome. And actually, Chad, another loyal listener, big Nebraska fan. I need to get his thoughts on this too. But I just don't see them becoming that powerhouse again, especially with Matt Rule. Like, Nebraska was one of those classic programs, and their fan base is unbelievably loyal. But in today's college football, I just don't see how Nebraska fits into all of that and can get back to that level. I don't see the path forward with that rising to the top with Matt Rule. And I still, as everybody talks about Matt Rule and, oh man, we got to go get Matt. Guys, he was at Temple and Baylor. And what kind of sustained success did he have? Like, we act like he's this big time coach.
He got them there. he got them there to
which is nice. That was good. It was a rebuild.
Yeah.
It was good.
But there was he didn't sustain it because he left. No. He built them back up. Who knows how long they would have lasted. So the thing about Nebraska, it's unfortunate. Now, I wasn't alive. Maybe I was. I was very young when Nebraska was dominating. But I forget that Nebraska's even a state. So if I forget that they're even a state in the United States of America,
come on, Luke.
How could they possibly be successful in the age of transfer portal, NIL? I just don't know. That's why David Shaw resigning at Stanford, whoever's going to take that job, it's going to be fascinating because Stanford, allegedly, it doesn't always work out like this, but it's hard to get in there. They, on paper, treat athletes like normal academic students, and they really don't accept transfers because it's so difficult to get into that school. And they're not really pro NIL, at least publicly. So a coach going to Stanford, building that team is going to be different than another big program. But yeah, Nebraska, I don't know.
I don't see it. So, and the Matt Rule experiment in Carolina obviously ended poorly. And, just to see how quickly Steve Wilkes has changed the atmosphere and the attitude in Charlotte, it's a game changer. It's night and day. The team's not that much better because they can't figure out the quarterback, and Sam Darnold was better. But the way the Panthers play and the hope and the excitement is it's so much different than when Matt Rule was here. So it's just interesting to me that he gets this big time job at Nebraska. At the same time, is Nebraska a big time job? So it's sort of it's a weird situation. So they can have each other, and good luck to him.
8-year contract, I think, is what he signed.
His agent is a machine. Oh,
8 years? No way he stays 8 years. There's no way.
No. I'm pretty sure he gives up some of the Carolina money as well that he was owed by taking that job. So, Jason asks about Wisconsin. There's been so many coaching changes. I didn't even get to Wisconsin. That was kind of the most recent one. Luke Fickell. I like him. I think what he did at Cincinnati, this is one of those moves that I have to appreciate and understand, because can you really sustain success at Cincinnati? That's difficult. This is a big step up to Wisconsin, and
even though since he's going to the Big 12, going to Power 5 conference, Wisconsin has better resources, better fan base, just more opportunities to succeed, and a historically good football program. Tough year, but they win a lot of games. So, it's a no-brainer for him. And Wisconsin, don't sleep on the Badgers. They're a good team, and they put a lot of dudes in the NFL too, which is impressive. So
and tonight, my Colts, Jonathan Taylor. That's right. It's a big night for him. It's gonna be a fun one. Colts and Steelers. Can't wait. So that's gonna be. I've still got to add some more ornaments to the tree tonight, but we'll be enjoying some Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So hopefully Jeff Saturday can. I feel like the Colts are favorite.
Oh, they have to be, right?
They have to be. I guess they're favorite.
So if you had to say today, do you think Saturday? If you had to say today, do you think Saturday is just a placeholder for Harbaugh, former Colts quarterback? He's loved there. So, but Harbaugh's temperament is different than the previous Colts coaches, who are kind of mellow, not really in your face. Harbaugh's, kind of, said grouchy is the word you used, but. We'll see.
I kind of like Harbaugh. Oh, that was another. We were talking earlier about coaches on teams that you don't normally like. I'm not a big Ravens guy, Baltimore Ravens. I just don't like the franchise. But I like John Harbaugh. I like John Harbaugh.
I like both Harbaughs.
I would play for. I like them both too. So I would like want to play for him, and I have nothing against it. But I'm just not a big Ravens guy. I also like Lamar Jackson, even though he got a little frustrated after yesterday's loss, but. Lose to Jacksonville that way. That's a tough one. They've lost another one in the fourth quarter, so the Ravens letting games slip away.
Isn't the Harbaugh's brother-in-law Tom Crean?
Yeah.
Imagine holidays with them.
Oof.
I interviewed
when I fighting over that last piece of turkey.
When I worked for Texags at A&M, Tom Crean's Georgia team came to Aggieland to play some basketball. I remember asking him a question, the most terrifying moment of my life. He doesn't smile. Talking about intimidation, potentially a grouch. I raised my hand. I'm like, I'm going to ask about 2-3 zone or something. I thought he was looking through my soul. I'm like,
Oh,
I
no.
hope this isn't a stupid question. Ended up being a great question based on his response. But
Did you say,
intimidating
I
man.
hope this isn't a stupid question?
No, no, I did not lead with internally. I'm thinking that. I asked
Good.
it confidently, but talking about an intimidating man, so I can only imagine what those holidays are like. If you walk in front of the TV during a football game, get out of here. You take too big of a scoop. You take the rest of the corn casserole or the green bean casserole. Get out of here.
That's
So,
a fun topic. What sports family would you want to have Thanksgiving with? That's a fun one. Of course, it'd be the Mannings, but after
yeah.
that, who would you who or what family should be filmed at Thanksgiving? What sports
Oof.
family should be filmed during Thanksgiving?
Well,
Like the Ryan,
Harbaugh's and
the Rex
Crean would be
Ryan
boring.
family?
Who? What
Yeah,
family?
probably. What'd you say?
What family did you say?
The Ryans, Rex Ryan, Rob Ryan. That'd be a fun one.
Are we gonna get Rex Ryan's or Rob Ryan's ponytail? Is he gonna be
You got that.
ponytail Rob
All right, let
Ryan?
it loose. He lets it loose now, doesn't he? That's a lot. Whenever you talk about the Jets, though, it's like the last time they were relevant was Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan. Now we've got Mike
AFC
White
Championship
and
game.
Chris Daughtry.
Mike Birch comments the Van Gundys. That would be great. Oh, that'd be so funny.
I'm more of a Stan Van guy. I
Mm.
like Stan Van better than Jeff as far as announcers go.
I like Jeff.
You
I like-
do?
His banter's good. His
It's Mark
willingness to
Jackson.
say these refs are horrible, I appreciate.
You're the ref guy. I'm not
a
a
ref
guy.
hater. I'm a ref
I'm not
hater.
a ref guy. I don't worry about the
Yeah.
refs. Which speaking of refs, we got to talk about one controversy. Let's do tap drill, because the refs are under fire a little bit on some of these catches that are out there. What is a catch? So let's say hey to Henry. I guess we're moving right past Thanksgiving and your Giants losing. The Cowboys finally win on Thanksgiving. So Luke's was able to gloat a little bit before the show. But Henry, how you doing? You still hopeful about your Giants in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, man. No, definitely. I mean, even though we lost to the Dallas Cowboys again on Thanksgiving, this is the reason why we can't put the Giants on prime time or big holidays. The Giants are a blue collar working team. Just put us on the 1 o'clock hour. Let us do our thing. Let us go home with the family. No need to give us a spotlight. But in answer to your question, we still got 2 games with the Commanders and your Colts, Bryce. So I'm pretty hopeful that the Giants will make the playoffs. But we're going to go no huddle and go right into tap drill. And the first thing we're going to talk about, these referees, it is 2022. Do we know what a catch is? We got Chris Olave thinking he's got a catch. They're taking it away. We got a Hunter Henry thinking he's got a catch. They take that away. In Seattle, we got a receiver who thought he made a catch. He thought he was doing toe drag swag, but come to find out the ball moved 2 inches, so it's not a catch. Can we please figure out what a catch actually is?
I thought that a few years ago, especially with the Des Bryant situation, that we got to the bottom of it. And I guess I don't understand why it continues to be such a struggle and such a differentiation. And I guess what I struggle with is how long do you actually have to hold on to the ball? Because it's always amazing to me, some of these touchdowns where it's like you catch it, it's real quick, up, touchdown. And then they can let go and celebrate. But then if in other scenarios, it's like they got to have the ball forever for it to be a catch or a kind of a, they have to make up an athletic play, but that's not always the case for a touchdown. And then, of course, these other plays where it's like near the ground, is the ball allowed to touch the ground at all? So I don't even know what I necessarily want as a fan. Do you know what you want, Luke? Like, what do you want a catch to be? What should a catch be in your eyes?
If it's a catch at elementary school recess, it should be a catch. Catches are common sense.
Give it to him. Yeah.
Just give it to him.
Good effort. Good effort.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
To break it down in slow motion, and did that ball move a millimeter? No. Did they catch it at recess? Then it's a touchdown. Come on.
Yeah, maybe we've over-reviewed it.
Over-reviewed it, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would agree with that. Let's just kind of pull back a little bit, and in real time, was that a catch? All right, you got it. Boom, touchdown. We're moving on. Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, Henry, next question.
All right, next question. We're going to stay in football, and we're going to talk about I'm going to call an audible here. We were talking about the Giants. We were talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We were actually talking about this before we got on air. If you take a look at the NFC playoff picture, all four NFC East teams are currently in the playoffs, which means that the rest of the three divisions, you can only get in by winning the division. So what do we think? And as a matter of fact, the AFC East is trending toward that direction as well. So what do we think of an all division wild card?
Ooh. Has it happened before?
No.
Not one division and a whole division has never made the playoffs?
No, not that I know of.
Oh,
Off the
because
top of
how
my head,
recent
I
is
don't
the
think
three
so.
wild card teams?
We've had that.
Okay.
A couple times. Yeah. But to have all four, I think it would be fun. I don't think New England and the Jets, only one of them.
The Jets just feel like a fraud. The Jets feel like a fraud.
So you're still I'm jumping on the Mike White bandwagon, as I've said 5 times today. But the Patriots losing Thursday night on Thanksgiving night, even though Mac Jones threw the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
I just don't think they have enough. So I'll be surprised. But Belichick, you can never count them out. And then in the NFC East, I mean, Washington, the way Heineke's playing, we talked about him last week. And then I got to give a shout out to Brian Robinson. I mean, this story that early, I remember during the fantasy draft, we hear about the fact that he was shot in his leg. He's robbed. And here he is, a rookie, and getting off to such a slow start with an injury and having to come back from that. To now rush over 100 yards and has been a very solid contributor for Washington. That's a great story. Well, it's not a great story initially, but the way that he's persevered and come back, really cool.
I'll tell you
what. I don't think he'd be comeback player of the year, but man, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who has a better story than that for comeback player of the year? But gosh, it's just amazing. I go back to this before the season thinking that the AFC West was going to be the division to send all 4 teams to the playoffs. And now you have the NFC East, who people were calling the NFC least because no one thought the Giants were going to be this good. No one thought the Eagles were going to be this good. Everyone was thinking Dallas is going to win back-to-back years, the division. No one thought Washington was going to be good. And then you have the AFC East, who has typically, in the past, 20 years, only been the Patriots and then nothing else. And now all 4 teams are above 500. That's remarkable. But I'll tell you what. I don't want anything to do with Washington in the playoffs. They make the playoffs with that defense.
Chase Young hasn't even been playing.
Which is remarkable. That defense is built for a gritty, grinded-out playoff game, upset alert. They're dangerous, especially if they keep this momentum. Taylor Heineke, hey, say what you want. The dude can play football.
They win. They win. Now it was Atlanta. It was a tight game. Could have gone either way, but they held on.
You got to win the games you should win.
Yeah,
like the whole NFC East is playing with house money. The Dallas Cowboys were supposed to win it. The Philadelphia Eagles didn't even know if they even had a quarterback. The Giants are playing with house money with smoke and mirrors and some duct tape. And we didn't even think Washington was even going to be a team. And now they go from the NFC least to the NFC beast. Right. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Now we're going to go to the other.
Hold on, Henry. Before we talk about the beast of divisions, the NFC South. I mean, have we seen how competitive the NFC South is? Everybody's still alive. Everybody's in the mix.
Competitive is competitive is
a good way of putting it.
It is competitive.
Yeah, the Bucks can't pull away. They can't pull away because everybody's right there with them. Everybody's losing right there with them. You gotta love it. Panthers still alive. The lights back on, baby. Sam Darnold carrying us. Let's go.
And we're back to the Sam Darnold era. How about that? Back from the dead.
Comes full circle. I wrote him off last year, but I'm back on.
There you go.
Gosh, because that NFC South division winner. If they have to play Washington in the first round, wild card round, I'm taking Washington. To think Washington could get to the divisional round of the playoffs is remarkable.
To then play an NFC East team, probably.
Ooh,
The Giants and the Commanders and even the Philadelphia Eagles are all playing with house money. Dallas is the only team that's expected to be in the playoffs. So what it's dangerous to play a team that really doesn't have anything to lose.
That's right. All right, man. Give us one more question.
One more. All right. So we're going to go to the other football, the football on the pitch. And I'm taking this question right to Luke. Luke, Tuesday, Iran, USA. It is a must-win game for the Stars and Stripes, or else it's win or go home. What is your prognosis for USMNT?
Come on. 1-0 win, an 88th minute score from Christian Pulisic, Captain America.
Wow.
Here's the thing. The World Cup's amazing. The U.S. should win. But I'm so excited. The 0-0 draw, I know Bryce hates ties, but that's impressive. To have a clean sheet against a superior England team who is starting world-class players, to hold them to 0 goals is remarkable. So, Team USA, come on.
Let me just ask you. So I didn't get into it. I didn't get into the game. So 0-0 at the end of that, what was your emotion?
My emotion was, all right,
that was really did what we needed to. 0-0 game.
So I'll acknowledge, if you're just getting into soccer, it's a learning curve. There's no salary caps. The rich man wins. There's relegation, promotion. There's ties. To play 90 minutes and have 0-0 and that be the end of the game. Buddy's texting me, I just watched this for 90 minutes and there's no goals. Like, hey, I acknowledge it's a learning curve, but once the soccer bug bites, there is no going back. It's the same thing as the golf bug. Everyone hates golf until the golf bug bites them, and then it's the greatest thing they've ever seen in their life. It's the same thing with watching soccer. So, got to say that. Now, I know you said last question for Tap Drill, but we've got to talk about the infamous Seahawks play that happened this past week. Because, Henry, you could read it if you want, but we've got to address it.
I don't know if you guys saw it. I watched this game, and I've still got another bone to pick with a certain TV personality about this game, but we'll get to that in a minute. I watched this game, and I didn't even pay attention to it until Luke actually sent the video. On the interception, there was an actual 12th man on the field. Okay, during the run back of the Seattle Raiders game, there's the interception that happens, and there's a player that jumps on the field thinking that the play is over, but soon realizes, hey, wait a minute, this is still going on. Let me act like I'm blocking, and no one picks up on it. The line judge doesn't pick up on it. The umpire, the back judge, the referee, no one picks up on this. How do you play? How do you get away? Well, it's in Seattle, and their motto is the 12th man, so I guess that works, right?
Yeah. I got to be defensive because A&M's the 12th man, and Seattle continues to try to steal that moniker, which is blasphemy.
Here we go.
And now they're so desperate to be known as the 12th man. They're deploying a 12th player on chaotic plays. But it's so funny because you see the player, he sees the pick, he's on the sideline. All right, play's over. I'm going to go celebrate with my team. He's a team-first guy. It's not about me. I'm going to celebrate my teammate's interception. He's running out there. Oh, my gosh, this play's still going on. And then he kind of throws a half block. Like, I'm already out here. Might as well block for my guy. I mean, it's so funny because you see the gears starting in his head on, oh, my gosh, this is a live ball. Well, I'm already out here. Might as well do some damage.
Make the most of it. Let's go.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And I don't even think the players picked up on it.
No penalty.
Nothing.
You got to think teams are Bill Belichick's thinking, you know what? I could get away with this.
As long as he sticks to the sideline there.
It probably happens where people just don't catch it. I'm sure it's happened over time.
So funny.
But the Raiders actually get the win. Let's all face it, though. All right, remember at the beginning of the year, I laughed at the Seahawks, and then I looked like a fool because Geno Smith is a hero and he's awesome. Let's not be surprised if Seattle unravels the rest of the way. Let's not be surprised by that. I know our loyal listener, Sean, and his Seahawks, they've been awesome this year. It's been a surprising season, but now they dropped to 6-5. I don't know.
Niners are winning that division. Niners, surely they should win that division.
Yes.
And then Seattle's going to have to make a wild card spot. Oof.
Which the NFC is still open, but Detroit needed to win on Thursday. They didn't, which was a bummer. I was pulling for them to beat Buffalo.
Yeah.
So like they're one of those teams in the mix, and then Green Bay loses last night. They're probably going to be out of the mix. The Cardinals are now done. So after that, it's 4 teams in the NFC East. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
Oh,
we're getting
crazy.
one out of the South. So
and wait a minute. And there's one other thing about this game we got to talk about. Bryce, you need to come up and defend your boy Scott Hansen. Scott Hansen told us because, of course, the red zone only allows for so many hours of television, and that game went into overtime. And he says, go to your local CBS affiliate to watch the rest of the game. So my son and I are looking for the game. And we get 60 minutes.
Oh,
Bryce,
that's a devastating.
What is up with your guy? You need to come up and defend your guy, man.
No. So, for one, I actually had the game. In Charlotte, we had it. We were like one of the few cities that had it because we had the Panthers on earlier in the day. But this is my soapbox on this whole thing. The NFL and their archaic TV rules are outrageous. The idea that we are limited in our NFL viewing is beyond me. The idea that we don't have access to every game. I know we can get Sunday Ticket, but Sunday Ticket at the moment is only DirecTV, and I'm not monkeying around with DirecTV. I don't even know how DirecTV is still around. But the idea that thankfully they're finally done, and it'll be good because it'll be on one of these streaming platforms, Apple Plus, Google, YouTube, or Amazon, which would be awesome. But the idea that these, for the last few years, it's always, all right, you get one game on Fox, and then you get one game at CBS, and then that's all you get. Maybe you'll get a doubleheader on one of those each week. Oh. I can't wrap my mind around it. I try to think about the financials, like, okay, why do they do this, an exclusive game? I can't figure it out. Maybe I'm
it's
not smart
greed.
enough.
Just show us the games.
Show us the game.
And don't even get me started. This has become a soapbox of mine. Get rid of the blackouts. What are we doing? I should be penalized. I should be penalized for living in the city of my favorite team because I live in Dallas. I can't watch certain Dallas games. How on earth does that make sense? How does that make sense?
How about
outrageous?
How about the flex game? You mean to tell me that if I'm coming in from out of town to see a 1:00 game, say in Texas, I don't know when that'll happen, but let me go to Texas, and then I get to Texas to find out that they flexed the Dallas Cowboy game to 8:30?
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
I gotta go to work on Monday.
No, I like the flex. I'm all for the flex. You got to put good games on. We got to eliminate the accidental. Oh no, we scheduled the now the Jaguars are interesting, but the Jaguars and the Texans game. No. Get that off of Sunday Night Football. We made a mistake. We made a mistake. Get that out. So I'm all for the flex game. I understand your concern, Henry, but I'm in favor of the flex. But as far as Scott Hansen, our boy on NFL Red Zone, 7 hours commercial-free football. I love that guy. I spend every Sunday with him. So I'm always going to defend him. So he had bad information, but the idea that he can't continue to air that game either. We've paid for the Red Zone. Just show the game. Why does the NFL care if I turn over to the local CBS affiliate? I haven't been watching it anyway. Well, I got old TVs, but I'm watching the Red Zone. So that was silly. I was scrambling. I had to find it. Thankfully, I did find it to see Josh Jacobs run all over Seattle. That was a crazy play to win the game. So some very exciting finishes in the NFL. Some big time matchups on Saturday with the rivalry games. We still got to find Luke a rival with Texas A&M.
That's right.
My Mountaineers season unraveled. So it was a fun college football season, regular season. So now we'll get the championship games this Saturday, which are fun, or this weekend, and then we'll get some bowl games that, in between watching Santa Claus and Hallmark movies, we'll keep an eye on some of those scores.
Little
But then
Christmas with the Cranks. Watched
I
that
like
on Friday night, by the way.
That's a great one. I like
For
the
the first time I watched it. Very good.
For the first time?
First time.
Oh, that's in the rotation. I try to watch that. I may not watch it every year, but at least every other year.
It's in the rotation
every
for
other
me
year
now.
rotation.
Great movie. Yeah.
Tim Allen, King of Christmas.
He delivers every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll do our Christmas special in a couple weeks as well, so stay tuned for that. But thanks everybody listening today. Henry, great job. Appreciate you. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I saw something earlier. The Monday after Thanksgiving, it's got to be one of the worst days of the year. Like, we had fun today doing the show, and there's plenty to talk about from a football standpoint, but it's always hard. You're in holiday mode for like a few days, and it's such a tease, and then you got to ramp it back up. You're back to work, back to school on that Monday, and now we're still a few weeks away from Christmas. So it's always that tough transition to get back in the swing. So I'm with you. I feel your pain today, but thankfully we got so much going on in sports that keeps us going. So that's always fun. But a fun weekend at the Johnson household. Had a lot of fun with my daughters and wife and extended family, and so glad to be back at it today for sure. But thanks to you for listening. Thanks to Sugar Creek Coffee. Check out sugarcreekcoffee.com. Use the promo code UNPACK when you order your coffee, and enjoy that this holiday season for sure. And also thanks to Medi-Share. We appreciate their support as well. Medishare.com/unpacking it. I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved by his grace. I hope that's true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. As we talked about earlier, the Jags, the Chargers, they decided to go for it. Go for two. I encourage us to go for it in life too. When God says go for it with boldness and confidence and faith in him, to be obedient and faithful to him, and what he's calling us to do and asking us to do. Let's go for it. Let's take those faithful risks and those faith filled steps forward in life. So I encourage all of us in that today. Have a great one. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast, presented by Medi-Share.